The Speaker of the House of Commons is absolutely furious with the Prime Minister for ignoring and bypassing parliamentary democracy. Hello everybody, welcome to Tousi TV. Let's talk about Rishi Sunak's net zero U-turns because it's been a bit of a backlash from the corporate media, from the Tory party, well, the Socialist Green members of the Tory party. And Keir Starmer thinks that the best thing to do is to go even more net zero. Alright, but in this video we're actually talking about the reaction from the House of Commons. Now this matters, regardless of what I personally think of Lindsay Hoyle, the Speaker of the Commons. In this situation, our constitution matters. Parliamentary democracy matters. I know that the age has changed and we are now living in the social media world, and access to information is much better than before, which means we can get news stories and updates very quickly. But doesn't really mean that politicians should completely ignore Parliament and directly go to the media and basically liaise with the mainstream media in order to make their announcements. They have to still go through Parliament. But so many times this government have done this where they completely bypass parliamentary democracy. So, Speaker of the Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, is furious because after the leaks about the net zero U-turns a couple of nights ago, the Prime Minister and Downing Street decided to release a statement, official statement, a response to the media instead of to the House of Commons, as usual, because everything has to be debated officially and voted on, and generally speaking, that's just how the Constitution works. Now, some people say, well, the world has changed now, we don't really need Parliament. Well, without Parliament, do you really think that we can have scrutiny on BBC News or Sky News? That's the issue. Despite the fact that a lot of our MPs are absolutely idiotic, but I really don't want the BBC or Sky News or Channel 4 to be the home of scrutiny, because I don't really trust them. Anyway, this is a statement we have from the Speaker of the House of Commons, Lindsay Hoyle, saying, in response to the news that the Prime Minister was to lead a press conference on the delays to green targets, the Speaker's office said, if he had the power, the Speaker would recall the House immediately. And he is writing to the Prime Minister today to express that view in the strongest of terms. This is a major policy shift, and it should have been announced when the House was sitting. Members with very different views on the issue have expressed their disquiet on the way this has been handled, especially as the Commons rose early last night, so there was plenty of time for this statement to be made. Instead, the unelected House of Lords will have the opportunity to scrutinise this change of direction this afternoon. This is yesterday, when it hears that the government's response to a private notice question on this issue. It continues by saying that this is not the way to do business. Ministers are answerable to MPs who do not have a presidential system here. We don't have a presidential system here. The House of Commons is where laws are made, national debates are had, and of course where statements should be made. The key point was in the middle of that statement when the Speaker's office said, well, we did have enough time late afternoon in the evening to make that announcement in the House. So if the excuse from Downing Street would have been, well, this happened in the middle of the night and we didn't really know what to do, we had to respond. Really? Firstly, we could have waited. Secondly, you had enough time to actually respond in the House and actually could take control of the narrative. But also, this is just as a symbol, symbolically speaking, this is a perfect metaphor that this government is all over the place. The whole thing is chaotic. They're not in control of anything, including their own policy agenda. So forget about the opposition party, the Labour Party, for a second, because they have their own agenda. At least to an extent, they know what they want, which is total control of society, and they're going to increase and accelerate the net zero agenda. We know that. The Tories are afraid of the backlash in the next general election, so they're making some U-turns on some of the targets. Some of them are being delayed, they're not being cancelled, some of them are being scrapped, but even then, they are still losing the narrative. It's absolutely embarrassing. And we're going to keep an eye on this story, because I think within the next couple of days we're going to have more backlash from all sides of the political spectrum. I'm Tousi, and we are the media.